Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and welcome to your Raw review. So, I was dreading this episode more than ever. Just really wasn't in the mood to see this. I knew how it was going to be. I already know the fresh start. This was the first actual Raw of the new year. The other one hit on New Year's Eve, so nobody watched. They're gonna make 1,000 excuses, as I said last week, because it was New Year's Eve. Everybody was drunk. They were wasted. No one would be able to watch the TV. They were out doing better things. So this Raw now, there's no excuses. New Year's over, Christmas is over. There's no other excuse. They'll use probably the football excuse. They're still gonna make excuses. And what I need to ask is, how many years, how long are we gonna still keep up with the excuses before we admit that the product is just fucking horrible? And this episode was no exception. So we started off the show with a brawl between Seth Rollins and Lashley, and I'm looking at the comments on this on YouTube, and people are impressed by this. They didn't expect it. I was watching this brawl, and I said, okay, this is something they normally don't do. They come on the air brawling, different, It's still not a parking lot brawl. It wasn't a backstage brawl. They kind of did it from the gorilla position, right backstage before they come out to the ring. The only problem, like, that would have been fine, but this brawl was super lame. And does anybody ever really notice this? Does anybody notice that back in the Attitude Era, or back during the Ruthless Aggression Era, that, sometimes two wrestlers could fight backstage and nobody would pull them apart? Now, like, every single brawl is a pull-apart brawl when it takes place backstage. There's always a bunch of referees waving it off, the agents manage. Like, how do they get there that fast? Is there always, like, an agent standing by? Is Jamie Noble always standing by, ready to go backstage? It's a little bit ridiculous. Like, okay, if they were fighting for a while, I could see, but, how is it that everybody in the whole entire backstage arena is all set to pounce on these wrestlers the minute they raise their fist at one another? And to tell you the truth, I've said this on a number of occasions, I have seen better backstage brawls between the girls. Now, we all know what, Seth freaking Rollins, that's no surprise there, but for Bobby Lashley? Really? And I've even said this even when it was Lashley and Roman Reigns, like, I don't know what it is, but, it's just when the guys brawl nowadays, even if they're great talents like Lashley and Reigns, it just doesn't come across well. I haven't seen a good brawl in a long time. The last time they had a really good brawl was Undertaker and Lesnar. And that was like back in like 2015 or something like that. I mean, it really took somebody as good as Taker to have that really good brawl. And I guess that's what they need. I guess they need somebody really good, like a veteran like Taker, to really guide that brawl. But, it's like there was more like just kind of, feeling it and like touching one another more than like fists flying. And when they did, it was like these little love taps. And then, of course, Seth Rollins has got to do that totally unrealistic thing during a fight and just kind of like do a cross body off the stage. Like, you got to have that. He just can't have a real fight. It's kind of like, the match against Dean Ambrose. He's got to get in those 3 suicide dives. There's no possible way that he could get through the match without doing like every single, suicide dive and, one after the other. There's no way that he could get through a match, can't get through a brawl without having to do a high spot. It's my calling card. Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is your calling card, and you just can't help yourself. You just gotta pull off them fancy moves now, don't you? Now, This was I'll give credit where credit's due. It was a good idea, but once again, the execution was bad. See, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a downer, and I know that once in a while people will come into my comments and say, oh, I'm just being negative for the hell of being negative, just for the sake of being entertaining and have something to complain about. I'm sorry, but that's just how bad they are at this point. Even when they do a good idea, it's kind of like when they call up somebody good from NXT, it's like they just ruin them. So I'm sorry, but they never could just 100% anything. It's got to be like 50% good idea, but the other 50%, is got to be the execution, and it's not there. And I would say it's a small percentage for the idea. Anyone could have an idea, but it counts. Like, I could have an idea for an amazing song in my head, but if I can't get a vocalist to sing it out for me, then it doesn't fucking mean shit. I mean, like, the song's not going to make itself. So, anyone can have an idea. It's just like anybody with their little e-fed online. Anyone can have an idea, oh, this would be a great match, but to actually have it be a good match, have it be a good show, have it be a good storyline, is a different thing entirely. So, the brawl ends, and, it's like, why does everything have to be a pull-apart brawl? And when it's not a pull-apart brawl, they got to do, like, a brawl in the ring that looks almost like a match, that goes on forever, like a 5-minute brawl. Then up next is John Cena, and Cena's back on Raw. I said time and time again, I said it in my SmackDown review last week. Cena's back, and good God, you could feel that energy that has been missing since Roman Reigns left. There has not been as much energy, and I mean, let's face it, even Reigns doesn't deliver the same energy as a John Cena entrance, a John Cena promo. So Drew McIntyre came out and he started cutting a promo saying that, his time is ended. And, here's the problem I have with this promo here. Cena kind of pretty much called this out for what it was. It was like the 1,000th fucking guy coming out saying that, he's going to take Cena down. He's going to, like, put Cena out to pasture. And there's been so many guys who have claimed to do that it's almost like a fucking joke, because nobody ever does do that. It's not like almost anybody really deserves to do that. But a guy like Drew McIntyre, yes, a guy like Roman Reigns, yes, they do deserve to get that illustrious win over a John Cena, because they seem like they could go places, and they might benefit, with a win over Cena. So, Cena said, what makes you any different? And even though he called him out, this was like the same promo that he had with Roman Reigns last year for No Mercy. Remember when they had their one-on-one match? That went absolutely nowhere, and all Roman Reigns did was end up going back into the Shield. It was the same type of promo. And I don't know what to say here, like, if they told Cena to go out there and say that, but this completely discredited Drew McIntyre. It just made him seem, like a chump. Like, okay, you're just like one out of, how many guys that come out there and say they're going to beat Cena, and they never get the job done. So Lio Rush and Lashley interrupt, and, one thing leads to another. There's a bunch of run-ins, and then we've got ourselves a 6-man tag. It's like pure laziness. Let's not even build up for this 6-man tag. And even, like, Balor is involved in this. Like, so you've got 1,000 different, feuds and mini feuds going on. So Seth Rollins, he's got a problem with Lashley. Oh, but he's still got a problem with Ambrose. It's just, Balor just seems so out of place. It's like they didn't want to do anything with this guy. Now, all of a sudden, let's just throw him back out there like he's a main eventer. Like, just fucking out of nowhere. And, it's like, first of all, can you believe, like, that we don't even have main eventers? Even with the absence of Brock Lesnar, like, you would think that, like, they would at least elevate some of these people. But no, all they've been doing is having the girls' main event. I mean, it's just such a sad state of affairs. And Seth Rollins just out of nowhere is pins Ambrose, and like, guys, did they fuck up Ambrose or what? I mean, holy fucking shit. I just have to sit back here for a minute and I just have to put it all in perspective for you guys. Do you realize that Rollins, Rollins is a lost cause at this point? It goes without saying. But, he probably, with the right writing, which is almost impossible, could have had a decent feud with Ambrose. And I'll tell you why. Because they started off pretty good. And this is where we always make our mistake here watching this product. Like I said, if one thing goes well, just rest assured that the rest of it's going to go to shit. Because that's exactly what always happens with WWE time and time again. It doesn't matter if they get it right one week, because the next week they're going to come right back and they're not going to do well. So, I had a little bit of hope here with Ambrose. Because first they had the balls to actually turn the guy heel. A company that wouldn't even turn Roman Reigns heel. Wouldn't even turn John Cena heel. Because they were afraid of merchandise sales. Completely ignoring the fact that a Hulk Hogan heel turn did wonders for merchandise sales. It gave birth to probably one of the best selling t-shirts of all time in the NWO shirt. Rest assured that certain times heel turns could, really be big bank for a wrestling company. And for the WWE, if it's done right. I mean, look at The Rock turning him heel. There's, these examples have been repeated so many times, whether it be the Monday Night Wars type. And the thing, that's what drives me crazy. I talked about this years ago. You go on the network, and they actually talk about classic heel turns. They talk about having good storylines. They talk about it. So they know what a good storyline is. They can identify what a good storyline is. They know that it takes characters, that it takes good writing, that it takes good storytelling. They know this. They know it. But do they want to do it? Do they want to put it into practice? That's the other thing. But I saw a flash of brilliance as Ambrose had massive heat. This was probably the biggest heat that I had seen in quite some time. I don't even remember the last time I saw heat this great. I said I think I knew what it was. It was probably during the Summer of Punk. But this seemed even more powerful. This was more than just saying, "Hi, Colt Cabana." This was Ambrose actually announcing to the world that, he doesn't give a fuck about Roman Reigns, and he doesn't care about this was, Reigns' emotional night to announce to the world that he had a very, very horrible disease and that we might not be seeing him for quite some time. They took advantage of that situation, and people complained, people weren't ready for it, but I thought it was good. And I'm sure that Reigns was comfortable with it. Most of the time, from what we find out, that everyone is cool. I'm sure we would have been hearing from it. But, it seems like Reigns is a pretty cool guy. And that's the thing. For all the shit that people give Reigns, the guy seems open to just about anything. He probably is one of the easiest people to work with. Why? Because even the dirt sheets can't even find any news to report negatively on this guy. I mean, that's how great of a guy he is. If even the dirt sheets can't find dirt to dig up on Reigns, then you damn well know that he is actually a good guy, that he is actually someone that, could be admired in this company and deserves to be at the top. And that's probably one of the reasons why they want to push him so hard as they do, because he's more reliable. He's more reliable than a Braun Strowman. But whatever the case, this is about Ambrose. So that's enough with, sidetracking myself talking about how great of a guy Roman Reigns is. That's what made it so powerful than when actually Ambrose turned on the crowd, turned on Rollins, and, he was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to turn on this night. And the very next Raw, they actually followed up with him saying that, maybe Reigns got what he deserved. And it was a powerful statement. It really offended a lot of people. And that's a shame because, then they started to dial it back. Because it was in the same night, this comment, but Ambrose talked about how bad the crowd smelled. So what they did is they focused more on that comment than the comment that Ambrose made about Reigns deserving what he got, in his cancer. And so they decided, you know what, let's drop that and let's talk about the smell of the people. Comes out with a gas mask, comes out with a SWAT team, makes a fucking fool of himself. They told him to go out there and do that, obviously. But man, they cooled him down, and before you knew it, after a boring-ass match at TLC, he's in the ring fighting Apollo Crews, the winner of, Fresh Start Battle Royal. I mean, it doesn't get any lamer than that. And last week, there wasn't even any interaction between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. It's like they took a break from each other. I thought that maybe they had given up on it. They realized that, that it didn't go over as well as they thought it was going to. And, the thing is, there was an angle there that had so much potential. They could have had an even more powerful angle than when Seth Rollins turned on Dean Ambrose. Now the roles were reversed, but Ambrose got way more heat this time around, and they fucked it all up. And just to see Seth Rollins just getting a meaningless win over Dean Ambrose in a 6-man tag match that was completely thrown together, that was complete fucking ass. This was just fucking horrible. I don't know how they could justify booking something like this. Just like, you already made Ambrose look bad by having him waste his time in a match with Apollo Crews, and then you're gonna go ahead and then you're gonna just have him get pinned by Seth Rollins at fucking total random during this match. So then you have Rollins going backstage asking for a match from Triple H against Dean Ambrose, and he's granted it. Okay, so here's the problem. Didn't Triple H, or maybe it was the week before, I don't really remember, says that, you're not going to get a chance at the title, the IC title, because, you're not showing enough aggression. So Seth Rollins has a hissy fit with a chair, and one thing leads to another, and he has a match. So, you just came on the air brawling Lashley, and somehow, some way now you're refocusing on the IC title. And you also mentioned that you want to go through Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar was there tonight, and he didn't do a fucking thing. So I don't know where the goals are, why they even bother having promos, because just about everything is not followed up on. So it's like, I don't know. So you want to ignore Ambrose and Rollins one week and, focus on this whole Triple H, Seth Rollins, his little rage that he goes through. They want to do that and then go right back to where they were previously. And I don't really get that. Like, where are the priorities here? Like, I'm honestly, seriously believing in my past theory that there is a room full of chimpanzees. They post a bunch of different ideas, random ideas on the wall. The chimpanzees fling their own shit, and whatever the shit lands on, that's what they go with. Because, I mean, like, seriously, like who the fuck is writing this? I don't know. I couldn't even really guess it. Like, I want names, damn it. Like, tell me exactly whose, minds, like, these twisted minds that write this garbage. Like, none of it even makes any sense. What they start interacting with one person on the roster, then they go right back. They take a break. It's like, first of all, if Ambrose really hated Rollins that much, like, how is he not going to do anything to him last week? He's like, well, I'm not really in the mood. So he's just not going to do, he's just not feeling it that week. So I guess he's just going to pass up on that opportunity. And this whole match was, kind of came out of Cena and Drew McIntyre. And throughout the whole night, they never go back to it. Like, this was supposed to be at Cena and Drew, and then somehow it just became all about Rollins and Ambrose again. Like, huh? Look, we're almost 20 minutes into the video, and I haven't even barely gotten past the first, few moments of the show. Because that's how fucking bad it is. And it's like, you would think, okay, it's bad, there's not enough to talk about. No. I will say one thing about how bad this show is. It gives me a lot to talk about because it's just so mind-numbing. I have to analyze it. You know, that's the thing. It's like, okay, you know, the show is bad, but there is a lot to talk about here because it's just so crazy how they get everything wrong and not give a fuck about it week after week. Then we get Hulk Hogan coming out, and, you know, it was rumored and everything, but I need to ask a question. How can we not advertise this ahead of time? Hulk Hogan has not been on Raw for 5 fucking years. Yeah, since like 2014. How are we not advertising Hulk Hogan? Your ratings are down. You know, you're like desperate. You're talking about fresh starts. You're even getting Old Man McMahon out. Well, hey, Old Man McMahon was not even there. I don't know if they're just keeping him on SmackDown because this is what they did last week. So I guess they still are splitting them up. So they couldn't even keep that consistent from week to week. They said that all the McMahons were going to be there. Or I don't know how they worded it exactly. Maybe there's a technicality there that there were going to be McMahons present on every show. So I guess, you know, maybe Vince is getting SmackDown, which, you know, SmackDown is definitely the more painful of the two. So I could definitely see why he's going with that show if he's going to be on one. You know, but I could see where he's coming from because also, you know, whether we like to admit it or not, SmackDown is now the more important show because it's now on the bigger network and Fox. So that is probably why Vince is on SmackDown. Doesn't seem like he's doing a good job. But let's see, now that it's not New Year's, now that maybe the attendance for the show will be a little bit up, we'll see what he's got in store for SmackDown. So we'll see where that, you know, what happens there. We'll check it out. We'll see how good of a job Vince does with this week's SmackDown episode. I'm not really expecting a whole lot. You shouldn't either, but we'll see where it goes. So Hulk Hogan, you know, you're not going to advertise him being there. I don't see, like, you know, wouldn't McMahon say, like, we got to advertise that Hogan is there? SmackDown might be your show of choice now because of the Fox deal, but you know, he's gonna be on Raw. It's like, so just leave it up to the internet crowd to try to promote it for you. You know, I don't know if they had it on their website or whatever, but, you know, they were not advertisers. And maybe it was the fact that they only brought him out because of Mean Gene Okerlund, you know, and God bless Gene Okerlund. I mean, I will say this right here. I was thinking about making an individual video. I never got around to it, but Gene Okerlund, without a doubt, it had to be the best interviewer that they ever had. The voice, I was just watching on Instagram a classic moment from him in WCW. That was the thing. You know, some people seemed a bit watered down, you know, from one show to the other. Like, I kind of noticed, you know, a little bit with Bobby the Brain Heenan, that, you know, that he kind of was dialed back a bit in WCW than when he was in WWE. I mean, you could kind of compare it. He didn't seem quite as funny. Maybe he wasn't as comfortable on commentary. I don't know what the case was, but Gene Okerlund was just as much on fire in WCW as he was in WWE. And I gotta say that, I mean, what a big personality. I mean, you want to talk about a personality who's just, you know, an interviewer. He kind of sometimes overshadowed certain wrestlers, especially in WCW. Like, I'm looking at him like side by side with, say, somebody like Mike Sanders. And to me, Gene Okerlund is the more recognizable of the two. It's just, you know, Okerlund with that grandiose voice and just, you know, the way he play off with certain wrestlers. The guy was just brilliant. And he is synonymous with the WW, with the WWF, with WrestleMania. He is just such an icon when it comes to broadcasting, when it comes to being a broadcaster of any kind. You know, you think of Gorilla Monsoon, Jesse Ventura, Bobby the Brain Heenan, but when we think about an interviewer interviewing the wrestlers, you know, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, like, who was standing there during those classic interviews with the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man? A great, like, 90% of those classic interviews were conducted by Mean Gene Okerlund. So, you need to just kind of assess the situation and just say Okerlund was such an integral part of the product. And, man, so Hulk Hogan comes out to a big reception, and, I guess if maybe the audience, if the arena was maybe half full, it would probably be even bigger. But, I didn't really look so much at the arena tonight. But I know there was probably some empty seats. But whatever the case may be, this was a beautiful promo. And you could tell it came from the heart. And I really loved what he said, about the tag match in heaven. And I like that Hulk Hogan kept mentioning, like, heaven and everything, that he didn't, like, really try to make it, like, a politically correct type of thing. He talked about, somewhere he's making a match between Macho Man and the Ultimate Warrior versus Mr. Perfect and Rowdy Piper. I mean, what a beautiful image. And he talked about, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan calling the action. I mean, it painted a really great picture. And it reminded me of just how many greats are, like, up there, like, just, that we've lost. And, you think about it, like Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, just all these guys, Piper, he was just there a few years ago. We've lost so many of them. I talked about this even on Raw 25. I think about certain wrestlers, like, oh, who'd be cool if they could return? And then I'm like, oh yeah, they died. And I keep thinking of, like, all these different wrestlers that are no longer there that we hadn't seen in many years, and they're not there anymore. Big Boss Man, Test, there's just so many of these wrestlers, that are Sean O'Hare, all these guys that are no longer with us. And it's a really sad state of affairs. Like, you'd want to see some of these guys come back. And, it's not possible anymore. Grandmaster Sexay, another one. I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head, just like guys that have passed away, Umaga, just guys that no longer able to return. We'll never get to see them again. And it really put it all in perspective. This was a beautiful promo by Hulk Hogan. And if you didn't watch any part of the show, I really recommend that you at least go on YouTube and watch the 5 minutes that Hulk Hogan had. And the thing is, like, can you please just let this guy back already? Enough with the we're trying to be careful with him. Okay, he was already here. You already brought him out in Saudi Arabia. Let's just bring him back already. Bring him back as a GM. Do something with the guy already. I mean, like, come on. You immediately felt the presence of these guys. This show sucked, but when Cena came out, when Hogan came out, you felt that electricity. You felt a shift in the show. You felt a shift in the energy that the show was emitting. And then it quickly dwindled down after that because it's back to the revival, guys. And, just as Seth freaking Rollins said, all the show needs is the revival as tag champs. But guess what? Had another tag title match. Oh, it's a lumberjack match, by the way. Just because, there's no reason for it to be a lumberjack match. But, they lose again. And last week it was like... the week before they had lost because the wrong member of the revival got pinned. This time one of their feet was under the ropes, and it's like enough with the technicalities. The revival are boring. This show is boring. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, I mean, what a worthless tag team. They're two good talents, but Bobby Roode should be a main eventer. I say it every week. I mean, what a fucking waste. And we're gonna just do that thing. The foot is under the rope just so we could buy time, so we could have another match next week or at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Just so because we don't have anything better to do with the tag division. Like, you don't do anything with the AOP. Don't do anything with any of those guys. Don't try to bring in any new teams or whatever. And the thing is, if you didn't have this fucking brand extension, this roster split, perhaps you could have matches with Sanity. You could have interesting mixes, Sanity and what are they called? The Ascension. You could just have some interesting mixes and things like that. The AOP, versus Sanity. Imagine like Killian Dane, battling it out, with one of the members of AOP. Just some ideas to throw around there. It's like, come on. Like, watching the same fucking tag matches. Where we gonna watch The Bar versus New Day 1,000 times, and then on SmackDown, then when it's time for Raw, we're gonna just see the Revival versus Chad Gable and Bobby Roode for the millionth time. Just stretch it out. I mean, like, how many times has the Revival had like tag title matches and they never win? Okay, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, at what point do we stop fucking caring? Like does anybody out there, can you, even if you're the smarkiest of smarks, can you honestly admit that you give two shits about the fucking Revival? Do you really care all that much about them? Is your day ruined? Could you not, go about your day, if the Revival doesn't win the tag titles? Who gives a fuck? There's so many other more talented wrestlers that, that ooze charisma right away. They're not being treated well. The Revival is last on the list, and I don't understand, like, that promo that they gave. Remember Seth Rollins about all the grievances about the show, and he's supposed to be the voice of the audience, and he talks about the Revival not getting tag title matches. Like, that's something that, oh, yeah, I'm sure because they got a tag title match, now the ratings are going to go up, especially now that they've had two. So then it was Corbin versus Elias. And so Elias is starting off 2019. And this time, he's got the Living Truth is his new nickname. So a new nickname, maybe, he was the Drifter. Now he's the Truth. And, I thought it was R-Truth. I thought he was the Truth. Well, apparently not. Well, he's the Living Truth. Oh, sorry. I didn't notice that drastic difference. So, the thing is here, what I'm kind of thinking about is that, I noticed it's the same thing with Rollins. When they can't figure out how to build off of a character, they just start pelting them with nicknames. Oh, you're the Living Truth. Oh, yeah. So how is that nickname going to exactly assist, Elias in getting any more over than he already is? I mean, so the guy got himself over. You gave him the gimmick. You told him to run with it. He did everything that was asked of him. And he still hasn't really progressed much beyond where he was in 2017. Watch him not even get a WrestleMania match. I bet you the fuck he does not get a WrestleMania match. Watch them do it again. Watch him not get another one this year. I would not be surprised. It really wouldn't shock me if he didn't once more. Why would it be any different? If they didn't give him one last year, why would they give him one this year? It doesn't really seem to matter. As long as they get him on the card, as long as he does a musical performance, that will be good enough for them. So I would look for Elias not to be on WrestleMania. That's just what I'm thinking. So Corbin comes out. Why is he still wearing his street clothes? And more importantly, why is he still wrestling in his street clothes? If he's not the GM anymore, why is he dressed like that? Are they like trying to throw around ideas like The Miz about different attires? I'm not really kind of getting what's going on here. In the context of things, Baron Corbin is not the acting general manager anymore. Thus, he should probably go back to his old attire. But it's like, I don't know if they like feel funny about putting him back in his old attire now that he has the head shave. And that's his lone wolf attire. Like, I don't get it. Just give him wrestling attire, just to show that he's back to being a normal wrestler. There's no point in, it was even stupid when he was authority. Hey, look, I have to wrestle in my authority figure just so you remember that, I'm not the lone wolf fame. Like, it's so dumb. So just because he's an authority figure, that, that means that, that would mean that his paycheck increased, that he'd be able to buy new gear. Why would he want to be uncomfortable and wrestling in dress shirts and shoes? It makes no fucking sense. And Corbin actually ends up winning here. Clean. Great way to start off the year, guys. Give a clean loss to one of your most over talents. And you guys know I'm a Corbin fan. But this probably wasn't the best position to put Elias in to bring in the new year. I mean, I could see maybe if Corbin cheated or something, but a clean loss? After that whole promo and everything, like, talk about taking the wind out of his fucking sails. Jesus. And then, if you didn't think that that was enough, you want to talk about taking the wind out of someone's sails. How about this Brock Lesnar segment? Can we talk about this here for a minute? Can we really kind of analyze this segment? So Strowman comes to the ring, but Lesnar's backstage. So Heyman does all the talking. He says, he doesn't want to come out there because there won't be an opponent left to have at the Royal Rumble. He's going to beat him up so bad. And then Strowman's, retaliation line. All I hear is blah, blah, blah. Like the blah, blah, blah shit. Like, he's a monster and monsters say blah, blah, blah. He's saying, okay, all I'm hearing is that you're scared, blah, blah. Like, oh my God. The verbiage. It's like, can they make a single person on this fucking roster not be cringeworthy? I swear to fuck. I mean, the only one who seems like they're succeeding in not being cringy nowadays is John Cena, who, first of all, was accused of being cringy. Oh, and I still stand by what I said years ago. I still remember the Star Wars promo and shit like that. I still remember those cringy promos, suffering succotash, with Roman Reigns. So I still stand by that. But I swear to God that, Strowman sometimes, these promos are so cringeworthy. And they're so, telegraphed. It's first of all, they're giving him the monster voice. It's kind of like how they made some of the monsters on Sesame Street sound when they talked. I mean, for God's sakes, this type of voice right here. It's just, I'm kind of getting sick of it now. I kind of excused in the beginning, but now we need to start addressing this. Because when you start having them go blah, 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 I need to start going boo, boo, boo. Because this shit is dumb. It makes him sound dumb. It makes him sound stupid. It makes him sound not tough. It doesn't make him sound like a cool character. He sounds kind of like a fucking moron here. Okay, so this brings out Lesnar, and then Lesnar decides to turn around. So it's one of those, no, we're going to do this on my terms types of thing. So we haven't seen Lesnar in months. Finally shows up, no action with him. That's just fantastic. Thanks for that. Really appreciate. Great build, by the way. Oh, fantastic build for this match. Now, I get that maybe they're trying to give Strowman some time to recover and they don't want any contact here. But try to think of something more creative than this. This was fucking boring. This was painful to watch. And worst of all, it was cringeworthy. At least if they're not going to touch, at least make Strowman sound better than he did here. A fail on all accounts. Any way you look at it. Apollo Crews and Ember Moon team up to defeat Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. Isn't Mixed Match Challenge over? Why are we forced to watch this? What was the purpose of this? Was there a point to it? Why is Jinder, teaming with Fox? What is the thing there? Are they a couple now? It's I don't know. Let's just move on. It couldn't get any more pointless if they tried. Ronda Rousey is a guest on Moment of Bliss. And, what can you say right here? I mean, this was so cringy. This was so hard to watch. First of all, I gotta say, this very well might have been the hardest to watch Ronda Rousey promo I've seen in WWE. And you guys know I'm a big fan of hers. And I defended her when it came to the Millennial promo and everything like that. And I thought, and I still stand by that, she's good at giving promos. She, I think Heyman wrote those promos for her. Whoever wrote them for her, they were good. They were well delivered. I'm enjoying it. But this promo right here, again, having her repeat herself. She wants to be the best women's champ. Okay, we get it. You've already used that same line week after week. They keep feeding her the same lines. We get it. You're the proud champion. You want to stand tall. You want to be known as a fighting champion. We get it. It's very generic. It's very boring. They need to stop it. She's too fucking talented to have her reciting this schlock. I mean, give us that energy, that conviction we saw in the promo she cut on Becky Lynch. Why is Heyman not writing that for her unless they took him off Ronda Rousey duty for the past couple of weeks? But, so they were building this up. It's going to be a moment of bliss. And then she starts talking about a girl who deserves, something more than anything. She's an unsung hero. Wow. Who are we talking about here? Are you going to defend against Trish Stratus? Are you going to defend against Lita? Are you going to defend against maybe Mickie James? Okay, these are all girls that really contribute lots to women wrestling. They're inspirational. They could be considered unsung heroes of some sort. No, she's talking about Sasha Jar Jar Binks, of all people. Really? An unsung hero. Well, out comes Nia Jax. Well, speaking of people that, speaking of Sasha Banks, when she comes out too, you want to talk about, two that have a lot in common. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Let's talk a little bit more about the cringe factor here. And Nia Jax comes out with her whole Starbucks customer routine. Oh, first of all, she makes like a throwing up sound. She, and the voice, Nia Jax is supposed to be a heel. She's a monster. She's huge. She could crush these girls if she wanted to. And her talking old girly girl like this is just fucking abysmal. I mean, you want to talk about not wanting to take her seriously? You have people questioning her online about she's a safe worker. She should be telling these fans to blow it out their ass and everything. If they're going to mention the whole face breaker thing. So Sasha comes out. She's honored and everything like that. And so, can I ask a question? Why are we rewarding Sasha Banks? So let's just get through this. So they completely forget about, the fact that Alexa Bliss is even there. This is supposed to be her show. It was barely an interview segment. It was barely about Bliss in any way. Which just shows me that they have nothing planned for Bliss. And God forbid, I mean, seriously, I really think that I don't know when she's going to return. She's been out for months. They give her this show. There was rumors that she was going to return. She still hasn't returned. So I'm going to have to say that I don't know when she's going to return. Looks like they're buying time. The last time we saw this was with Paige, when Paige was a manager. And they were buying time because they didn't want to announce her, her retirement right away. Even though it kind of was known for a few months. So, speaking of Paige, oh, look who we got here. As Enzo would have said, what do we got over here? Got a couple of concussion makers? Yeah, looks like it. Looks like it to me. Sasha Banks. Remember the old kick in the back of the head? The ending of the career, the video I made last year. Sasha Banks not taking any responsibility. WWE not holding her responsible for ending someone's career, giving her a concussion that was career ending. Now, we've got Nia Jax, who, was pretty careless in the ring. She fucking rears back and smashes Becky in the face, breaks her face open pretty much. They, make light of it. She's the face breaker. Oh, we've got a concussion lawsuit that we just escaped by the skin of our teeth. And we're going to gloat about concussion. So we have somebody who ended somebody's career and somebody who probably took years off of another's career in Becky Lynch when it comes to Nia Jax. So let's put them in a match together. They're both deserving, right? Okay, so, it's like, Sasha, you did a pretty good job ending Paige's career. But, Nia, she got pretty close. So let's reward both of them. They have a match. And this was fucking the, like, holy shit. This had to be, like, one of the worst matches they might have all fucking year. It couldn't have gotten any worse than this. So, you know, even the spots that I saw in it, I mean, Sasha Banks goes for this Hurricanrana. I don't even know, like, what they were thinking. I guess she was kind of going for that Rey Mysterio Kalisto style Hurricanrana, where they kind of, you know, drive the wrestler's head into the mat or the apron or whatever. And I guess that's what she was going for. But Nia Jax was thinking differently, and that move just didn't happen. And like Sasha just kind of like fucking falls out of the ring. Then there's another spot where Sasha Banks like dives over like the ropes, and she's going for some type of fucking like Oklahoma roll or like La Magistral cradle type of shit, and like she just fucking like, I don't know how she thought she was gonna like roll through with a fucking girl that's like over 300 pounds. You tell me how that's fucking possible. You tell me how a girl who is like 105 pounds sopping wet is going to perform that move accurately and make it look good with a girl that outweighs her by 200 pounds plus. You explain that to me. You know, anyone out there with a degree in physics or any knowledge of that, can please explain how that's fucking possible? Because I'd really appreciate the explanation there. So it's not possible. It's just not. And sure enough, it looked like fucking shit. But there you go. There is going to be your match for the Royal Rumble. Sasha Banks versus Ronda Rousey. So, like, out of all the matches they could have, out of all the women, have the match with Charlotte, have a match with Becky Lynch, have a match with Asuka, whatever the case may be. Even have a match with Naomi, have another match with Natalya, but with Sasha Banks, like, this girl is lucky that she's even able to perform on the main roster, and they are going to reward her with a championship match. She's not going to win. We all know that, but, like, the fact that they're even booking this match, like, we're supposed to get excited. The Sasha Banks ship has sailed. There's too many S's in there. Sailed, ship, Sasha, blah, 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 blah. I just can't say them all. You know, it's like, you know, seashells down by the seashore. So I got that one. But, you know, it's just mind-numbing to think that, like, all these choices that they could book Ronda Rousey, and not only are they fucking her up with these awful promos, but the shit here that they're going to waste a Royal Rumble pay-per-view match on Sasha Banks of all people. We all know that, like, this is not a believable match. We all know this is a match where Sasha Banks should probably down her quicker than any fucking opponent she's had thus far. You know, so I don't know why you even bother here. And then to round things out, it's Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Okay, so they, you know, here's the thing about this. We already saw a brawl to open the show, you know, backstage. So when you have these two wrestlers kind of fighting it to end the show the same way it kind of opened up, and the announcers even acknowledged that, it's like it doesn't feel special. Okay, we just saw at the top of the show you're going to end it the same way. So they come back to the ring. It would have been more interesting if they maybe ended the match in the back. That way it would have had a little bit different of a feel. But they come back to the ring. Looks like Seth Rollins is about to win. Bobby Lashley comes out, interferes, costs the match to Rollins. So, I mean, at least there was a little bit of continuity from the beginning of the show to the end of the show. But, like, so who's the feud with here? Is it with Ambrose? Is it with Lashley? Are we really doing both? What happened to him wanting to go after the Universal title? God, I hope he does not win the Royal Rumble is all I'm going to say. Holy fucking shit, this show was a mess. It goes without saying, folks. I mean, I watched this show, and I just can't believe, like, the length of this show and the opportunities they have throughout the show. Like, they could rectify problems on this show live, but they choose not to do it. This is just such a boring, worthless show. And when they did seem to have ideas, they were all over the place, and they fucked them up. I mean, like, you've got a hot talent in Ronda Rousey. and the best program that you could come up with is Sasha Banks. And not only that, I mean, you look at this segment, and I don't know if they, like, rehearsed this, or God forbid if they rehearsed it. Because if they rehearsed this, and this is the way how it went, the fact that it was approved, you really need to start worrying there about, like, people's sanity and, like, just what kind of, quality assurance they kind of do here on this product. Because there's no way that should be able to pass. I mean, just like, first of all, this is supposed to be the debut of a new segment, a new show for Alexa Bliss, who we're trying to hope to fucking God that she doesn't retire. And they barely even focus on her. She gets to say like 2 lines and that's it before she's overshadowed completely by Sasha Jar Jar Banks over there. And the girl who sounds like she's standing in line, ordering some really complicated drink at Starbucks. So, when's the Royal Rumble again? Is it this Sunday? Is it next Sunday? Because I don't even fucking know. I can't even tell. I've got like a feeling it's this Sunday, but I think it's probably next Sunday. Anyway, but there you go, guys. There's your Raw review. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please hit a thumbs up. Hit a thumbs down if you didn't, and tell me why in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. Check out some of the content I have posted here. And thank you for watching, guys. Until next time.